What is up, Scrub Fam? I am back with another video. As usual, we're going to be doing a meta talks. This is going to be focusing on looking ahead to Atlantic City and Vegas, and when we're going to do that, we're going to look at the data from Atlanta, mostly focusing on the top 32 breakdown. Before I can get into that, let me give a shout out to my sponsor, Alec Pastrana and Bearded Collectibles, the best shop owner on the planet. If you're looking to get your sealed product before set 5 or still haven't picked up your boxes of World Martial Arts Tournament, please do so from Bearded Collectibles and Alec Pastrana. Best prices on all sealed product, best value on cases. You're just going to have a really good experience when you buy from them, so be sure you do. So anyway, we are just a few days out from the Atlantic City Regional, hosted by ARG. I myself will be in attendance. Pat O'Neill will be in attendance. We're going to be getting a Airbnb with Jose Mercado, which I'm really excited about. So we're going to have a good time Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm thinking about playing in both events. Not sure. It just depends on how I'm feeling after day one. But in general, I'm looking to play something spicy this weekend. And I'm excited about where the metagame is going from here because Atlanta had some pretty nifty results. We had some cool decks. We had a really diverse top 32 with a total of 13 leaders making it up, as well as 14 different major archetypes that made it up. So it's pretty exciting. So as we move forward, it's going to be really fascinating to see how the metagame unfolds, especially post-Atlantic City, based off the information that we have now going into this weekend. So in general, let's go ahead and start off with the data from Atlanta. So here, top 32 metagame breakdown. So red, blue, pan is the first deck on the list, right? So Red Blue Pan actually ended up taking 6 of the top 32 spots, with 4 of them pressing on the top 16 and 2 of them making it to top 8. And I believe actually like 2 of those actually were in the top 5 to 6 decks, which is actually pretty exciting when it comes to placements. So if you're looking to place really well in an event, it seems like doing Red Blue Pan or Red Blue in general is actually a really good thing to do. So if we look at the rest of the breakdown, so you had Red Blue actually made up a total of 6, 11, 12, 13, and had 13 of the top 32 spots, which is actually pretty insane if you really think about it. So 13 of top 32 is Red Blue, and these are all chains and strategies, which we all knew going into the event would be really, really strong. So that was actually really awesome to see. So Red Blue had a really good showing. So what it looks like to even here, if you just look at the data or just the numbers that we have in front of us, if you were looking to try and get your invite, it's really smart to play something like Red Blue. And the main reason why is because Red Blue is a mid-range strategy where it has game against pretty much everything. It's really good at playing the defensive game, and it's really good at turning the corner once you do a chain attack Zeno in order to be able to re-stabilize the game state. So if you're looking to play something that is a little bit on the safer side, I think that Red Blue is a really good call for the weekend. And those are 2 of the decks that I'll be doing in my spotlight today, are both Red-Blue decks, and they're both different, and they have things to talk about within them, and they're going to be based off of decks that were played at Atlanta. So these are decks that I would consider starting with, if you're a few days out and need some testing. I definitely think that Red-Blue is really like one of your first go-tos. Now, if you're looking to win the event, I think that Blue-Yellow is the deck that you go to. I mean, that's evident by the numbers that we see here. There were a total of 7 Blue-Yellow decks that made top 32, and of those, a lot of those penetrated the upper parts of top 32. So, for instance, you had 4 blue-yellow Hirudegarns that were in top 32. All 4 of them were in top 16, and 2 of them actually finished in the top 8. And I believe that they took up, I think, multiple of the top 4 spots, which is actually pretty incredible. And the same thing happens with Trunks. Trunks, there was 3 blue-yellow Trunks in top 32. All 3 were located in the top 16, and 2 of them had a conversion in the top 8. So these blue-yellow decks, which are still incredibly powerful. Yes, there's a lot of defensive decks out there that can kind of, hold off the storm, so to speak. But blue-yellow in general is a very powerful archetype, and that just shows with this data that we have here. You have Hirudegarn and Trunks, which are just 2 of the best card advantage leaders that you have in the game. They're both really combo-oriented. And then you just still have the very oppressive nature of Bardock Goten, being able to swap in and out, being able to untap your energy multiple times and just create multiple attacks within a given turn. So if you're looking for a deck to play this weekend that is going to give you a higher chance of potentially winning the event, Blue-Yellow looks to be the deck just based off of this. If you hadn't had a chance to go back and watch the coverage from Kitchen Table Meta, in which they did a great job running the stream for Pro Games Live, the finals, if you just look at Justin Rios play his deck, which I'll be going over here in a minute, against his opponent who's playing Blue-Yellow Trunks in the final, watch how Justin plays those matchups in the mirror, because there's a lot of really good technical play on his part because he's an outstanding player, and congrats to him for getting his signature win. But there's a lot that you can learn from watching that set of games, so please do yourself a favor and do that before you decide to sleeve up one of these decks when it comes to your testing or even your preparation for this weekend. So The next thing to note is, aside from blue-yellow, we have some pretty interesting things. So we did have some World Tournament leaders make it to top 32. The ones that were notable or had multiples were Hercule. He had 2 copies in top 32, and actually 50% of those copies made top 8, which was Peter Katani. Which, shout out to Peter Katani, amazing player. He could probably roll it about with any deck aside from Goku Black and make top cut. So awesome job to Peter Katani playing Hercule, showing that the deck is somewhat for real. It does have the ability to live really long. The biggest thing is just making sure you have a win condition in the deck, which I know that people are still working on right now. And the other World Martial Arts Tournament leader that put multiple copies into the top 32 was Announcer, who had 2 copies in the top 32. None of them penetrated top 16 or top 8, though. So pretty interesting information here. And then when it comes to other, there were a bunch of decks. So there were just basically 7 other decks with 6 different leaders, because one of them was Blue-Green Soul Striker. There was stuff like Jackie Chun, Galactic Moms, like, you know, you had World Martial Arts Tournament Goku, who is, you know, red-green, which is a really sweet deck. But in general, the diversity of this format was pretty awesome. And actually, you had 3 of those decks, of the 7, actually press on to make top 16, and you had 1 of them end up making top 8. So it kind of shows you here that these things versus the machine, the other decks are good and they're competitive, as you can see by them penetrating the, you know, top 32, top 16, top 8. But if you really look at kind of like the bigger strategies, so red, blue, blue, yellow, those are really kind of just like the top decks in the format right now, and this kind of data points to that as we move forward. So as we look ahead to Atlantic City and Vegas, this is kind of where you need to focus your attention. Whether if you're looking to counter it or if you're looking to play into it, you need to make sure that you're prepared for blue-yellow, blue-red decks because of how powerful that they're going to be and just how prevalent they're going to be at these events just based off of these results. The machine usually always wins, so most people, if they're going to have to default to something, they're going to default to the machine. There was only 1 Droids deck in top 32, which was a green-yellow deck, and it's pretty good. But again, Droids is pretty much hard countered by Chain Zeno decks. So with the existence of blue-red causes problems for androids. So in general, you're not going to have to think about that too much going into this weekend due to its underperformance. There will be people that play the deck because of the fact that it's easier to access, the cards are cheaper, but if you're really looking to see the most success this weekend, you're probably going to have to consider playing something like red, blue, and blue, yellow, and I don't blame you for it. Unless you can find something that's like a really hard counter, like, you know, mono red aggressive Pan is really good against Chain Zeno decks, but it does kind of have a weakness against blue, yellow decks. Or, you know, you have something like Champa leader, which sounds crazy, but Champa is really good against, you know, a lot of strategies right now. Planet M2 base decks, like, as we move on from here, there's going to be some innovation as we see going into the weekend, but I really expect the major players to come out to play. So in general, let's go over the decks from Atlanta that I just want to touch on. So just the spotlight. So the first one to spotlight is blue-yellow Hirudegarn by Justin Rios. This is his first place deck. And so first thing, shout out to Justin Rios because he was due for a major win. He's one of the best players in the game and hasn't had one yet. And this is really cool to see him get this finish. He had an amazing day. And his deck, I thought, was really well tuned for this event, and he was very aware of the fact that it was a brand new format, essentially. And you can tell by the fact that he didn't respect the blue-yellow or aggro matchups as much, you know, and he kind of relied on, number one, the ability to have more cards allow him to dig through his deck with combo power, and at the same time, just he's a naturally great player, so he's going to be able to play those mirror matches really well. And then, of course, his sideboard plan was going to be dedicated to those matchups. So with the prevalence of Mass and the Mysterious Warrior, he had extra negates with all 4 Flying Limbus and 3 Master Roshis. He had the extra Adopted Father Son Gohan. So he's very aware of the fact that he wanted to be good against the field in Game 1. And to be good against the field in Game 1, he knew he was going to be able to out-combo people, and so he really just wanted to focus on making his deck really consistent, making it as alive as possible every single turn. And then his sideboard, of course, is going to be something that's going to be dedicated towards, you know, more mirror matchups or more aggressive matchups. So this deck is actually beautifully constructed for this weekend. For Atlanta, at least. When we're looking ahead to Atlantic City, you could do something like playing 2 Flying Nimbus main deck because people are going to be more aware. People are going to be playing blue-yellow. You might run into more mirrors, but I really like this configuration. I do like the utility of the Power Charge Bardock. I think is pretty cool. It is something that you can play at Vegeta for, and ultimately it can be something you can evolve Bardock Will of Iron into, but the 3 energy investment, again, is kind of steep. It just depends on how you want to play the deck. He was playing the deck a little bit slower when I saw him in the finals, which I don't blame him. The deck does create inevitability with the fact that it just sees so many more cards than other decks do. But in general, I think there are some like flexible slots here that you can mess with, toy around with, and then find yourself at a really good list for this weekend. I like the Time Patrol Trunks. I thought that he was able to get a lot of mileage out of it, especially there were some turns where he'd Time Patrol Trunks, and he'd have a Carrying Mother Videl, and then he'd Carrying Mother Videl on the Time Patrol Trunks, make it 20k, draw an additional card. So it comboed really well with the scry ability of Time Patrol Trunks. So that was really sweet to see. And then in general, he ran 2 Planet Vegetas, which I really like 2 Planet Vegetas in Blue Yellow Hirudegarn. I think it's exactly what you want because of the fact that it can find your additional copy of Goten if you need it. It can find an Overwhelm card for you, find your Bardock if you want to be able to evolve into your ape that turn. But in general, overall, I really love this deck. I think this is a really good place for you to start. Again, I don't think that playing 4 Unbreakables is going to be something that you're going to be able to do this weekend, but I do think that some number of in the main deck is correct. As of right now, I'm splitting 2 Unbreakables with 2 Flying Nimbus in the main with the other 2 Nimbus in the board, and then 2 Mafuba moved into the sideboard over those 2 Nimbuses, because I do think that people are going to go and lean into Soul Striker to almost be like as a counter. So the same way they did SS3, they're going to want to lean into Vegito being able to be the counter card. So you're going to want to have Mafuba just to be able to deal with that Vegito, because if they tap, play the Vegito, and they only have 2 energy to defend themselves, and the Vegito is basically done for, and their hand size is low, you're going to be able to kill them in that turn. So I do think Mafuba is important in that matchup. So I do like having Mafuba in the main board going forward. And then, honestly, with green and yellow kind of being on the downswing, I think that Haru Haru is something that you can consider either cutting down to 2 or cutting down to 0. But in general, there's a lot of flexibility you have with your sideboard and your main deck. I do think that this main deck is very, very close to like as optimal as possible. The only thing could be having an extra Carrying Mother Videl in the main deck if you wanted to have 3. But other than that, between all the slots, it's really, really tight. Otherwise, really like the list. Congrats to Justin Rios again on his first place finish at Atlanta. Definitely overdue. Fantastic player. The next deck is Blue-Red Hirudegarn from Shane Early. So Shane is actually one of my patrons, and he's been on Blue-Red Hirudegarn for a really long time. This is one of the first decks he's picked up. It's one of the first decks he's built. This deck had no influence of my own. He built this all on his own, and this thing is actually really, really sweet. And the reason why I think it's really sweet is because he went into this tournament with this deck, and he knew exactly what he wanted to do. If you go and watch his deck profile, which I will leave a link down in the description for, if you go watch his deck profile, the way he focuses the deck is he really wants to, of course, use Chain Attack Zeno, but he wants to hit a Deborah or Foreseeing Hit. Of course, Foreseeing Hit is better than Deborah, but he wants the Deborahs because he wants a similar effect. And so he wants to play that effect as many times as possible to strip the opponent's resources down. And I think he finished the day something like 6-2. In a lot of those games, they actually came down to Game 3s where he ended up losing in Game 3. But in general, that shows that this deck has a ton of merit. And I really like this style of deck. I mean, there's not too much I would change looking at it. Maybe playing main deck negates moving forward, but I mean, look at his combo power. You know, he's got 4 Unbreakables, he's got 3 Raging Spirits, and then he's got the recovery mechanisms with Zeno and Chain Attack Trunks and, you know, Foreseeing Hit, Deborah. He's got burst attacks and go on at 4 of. This deck is very, very close to pure. He's playing a lot of 4s, a lot of 4s and 3s, only a few 2s. He's got the 1 legendary flute, and then his sideboard is sweet. You know, he's got 3 Whisk Coercions, 3 Mafubas, 3 Jackos. Very aware of aggro, very aware of Vegito because he knows he can't deal with it. He's got 3 Chronos for the Shigesh matchup, 2 Mass Saiyan for the Blue-Yellow matchup, and the 3rd Scientist 2 if he ever needs to, you know, focus more so on recovering from things, so like the Chain Zeno Mirror or the Cell Chain matchup. Overall, I really like this deck going into this weekend. If you have a chance to play with it, and really just focus on, if you're playing against a slower matchup, you get to be the beatdown. So you get to be the deck that presses the advantage. You get to be the person that forces, you know, your opponent to awaken, and then you Chain Zeno them, and then you strip their cards over and over again with the border for Seeing Hit. Or if you're playing against something like aggro, if you're playing against something like, you know, Cell Chain or Chain Zeno Mirrors, you get to be the one that's defending your life total, and be the one that just forces the opponent to exhaust all options, and then you just overwhelm them. And then once they're awakened and you're not, you then deploy your Chain Zeno, awaken, you're at 4 energy, and then you start stripping their hand down. So in general, I love this deck. Congrats to Shane. He already had his invite, but with this deck, he took it up another level, came in 16th place, got even better finish, and mad props to him. Sweet deck. So again, I'll put the link down to the YouTube video that this talks about in the description below. The last deck I want to touch on today, so this was probably the most popular, best performing archetype, Blue-Red Pan, and this is Blue-Red Pan that was piloted by Ben Stevens, Team Bearded's own Ben Stevens. Shout out to him. He was looking to get his invite. He got his invite with a very, very good list. There's only a few things that, in talking with him after it, you know, just in the Bearded chat, he mentioned he would change, but overall, the deck is great. You know, Pan is an amazing leader. Pan draws, additional cards for you with just for you playing the game, essentially, just for you playing battle cards. Being able to use your double shot Vegetas on your opponent's turn, being able to play your bodyguard Allergics for free, everything just nets you so much value in this deck. And I really like the fact that he's playing Supreme Kai Time Light's got his Overroam card, which this card is heavily underplayed. I've talked about it before, but this card is great. So with Pan, comes down, it's going to draw a card for its own effect, draw a card for Pan's effect, and then Pan, once awakened, is a 20k leader, and this card it also gets the 5k boost from Pan, which is pretty insane. So very, very good card in this deck. But again, similar strategy. Defend your life total. Use Chains Ender to reset the game, and then take over with the fact that you're going to be able to generate advantage through drawing additional cards. And then again, you have your Foreseeing hit to close out the game. Well, card that I like in here that you're going to start seeing a lot more of is the Glory Obsessed Prince of Destruction Vegeta. Probably the best card out of the Championship pack. When this comes down, it gets massive, and it's basically an undercosted Jiren that it does a ton of work when it comes down. So this card, highly underrated. I think you're going to start seeing it more and more, of course, in the Pan decks. There's a lot of Pan decks at the event were playing this card, so awesome to see. I also really like Ben's Negate Split. He had 3 Whiskorshin, 2 Unending Awakening. I think that number is fantastic. You need the blue sources, so playing that configuration is very smart. He had 3 burst attack Gohans, which I think is a near perfect number. 4 is too much a lot of the times, whereas 3 is just right. Overall, Ben, fantastic deck builder, fantastic player. I was happy to see him get his invite finally for Team Bearded and for himself. The card that he said, like I said, underperformed was Pride and Justice Topo. He really wanted that to be something else. Something like Heroic Duo Videl, Unbreakable, something like that in that spot would probably end up being more beneficial for him, he thought, because the 2 energy investment for Topo felt like way too much a lot of the time. But overall, Ben was able to see it through, got his finish, and then got his invite. His sideboard, 1 Planet M2. So I think Planet M2 is a card that is going to be more and more played as we move forward into the format, just because the ability for it to kill things for free, as well as pressure a lot of the leaders in the game right now, just through additional combo plus, they'll be able to make them minus 5k. I think Planet M2 becomes more impactful, so I think you'll start to see either 1 to 2 copies sneak into the sideboard, or even the main deck. But good to see it in his board. The 4th Burst Attack Gohan, the 4th Glory Obsessed Vegeta, I like it. Matchups where you want him, you bring him in, and then you're able to take over from there. 2 Mafuba, I think that's great against either threats that you're afraid of. Victory Strike, Vegito, those things, etc. 3 Time Control Cronoa, 3 Haru Haru, again, all against Yellow Leader, Yesh-based decks, as well as Haru Haru against Cell Chain is great, and then Haru Haru with Pan is like peanut butter and chocolate. If you're playing against a yellow or green leader, you're just going to really get so much mileage out of that card. 2-Dimensional Banisher Fu for hard removal, 2 Mass Saiyan for wide board states. Again, list and sideboard pretty near perfect for the event that he played in Atlanta. As you move forward, test the things that I talked about, but overall I think you're going to be really satisfied with this list. Again, congrats to Ben and Team Bearded for being able to secure another Nationals invite. Really excited for him. He's one of the best players on the team, so it was awesome to see him get his invite. But in general, those are my deck spotlights for the weekend heading into Atlantic City and Vegas. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. Any feedback, please be sure to leave it. I'm pretty sure there'll be some choice words about one of the slides in here, just due to the fact that you could tell some things. But in general, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about right here with this little red line here. I try to ignore it throughout the course of the video. I'm so sorry. But in general, thank you guys for everything. The Patreon support has been absolutely outstanding. I'm excited to continue, upgrading the equipment, upgrading the quality of my content. I'm continuing to, bring you guys the articles that you guys want. Be sure to check out for the next DBS 101 video. It's going to be on the lookout really soon, hopefully within the next week or so, to continue helping newer players get better at the game, whether it would come from the access before, the aspects of before playing the game, before sitting out at the table, or even just during gameplay. There's going to be a lot of that stuff coming down the pipeline since we did hit the rewards here on the Patreon. But in general, thank you guys again so much for all the support. There's been a outpouring of just support for this channel, for the Patreon in general, that I haven't asked for, and again, I appreciate everything you guys do for me. Thank you guys again so much, and I'll see you in Atlantic City. So good luck to you all guys going to Atlantic City. Good luck to you in Vegas, and I hope you have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye!